So I was driving my truck. I was driving my big old truck the other day, just driving down the road, and bam, it happened. I got a call. And the call was, "Hey, Bryan, you want to do this?" And I said, "I don't know." And they said, "Well, do you want to do this?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I've got a couple of business partners. I need to check with Hal and Jim to see if they want to do it." And she said, "Okay, well, let me know if y'all want to do it. I want to know if you want to do it." What in the world am I talking about? I don't know. Come on back and join us, and you'll find out what it is we did. It's big. It's big, big, big. It's big news. It's big breaking news. Come on back and join the conversation. This is Bryan Reynolds. You're listening to the Appraisal Update Podcast, brought to you by the great folks over at Appraiser eLearning. You need some education? Check us out at appraiser-elearning.com. So what am I talking about? Well, let me bring in my business partners. I've got Hal Humphreys and Jim McLeod joining me today on the Appraisal Update Podcast. Hi, guys. How's it going?
It's great. Bryan, how are you?
I'm
really good.
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So what in the world am I talking about? Hal, what did we do?
Well, for your listeners, we are incredibly excited here at Appraiser eLearning to announce that Appraiser eLearning has acquired the Appraisal Buzz and the Buzzcast podcast. We also, along with those two amazing assets that let us communicate to more appraisers across the country, inherited the Valuation Expo.
Yeah, so Jim, this is the first time you're on the podcast. Welcome. Glad you're here.
Glad to be here, Bryan.
How did this all happen? I mean, tell my listeners and maybe a few viewers out there, how in the world did this thing occur?
Well, I guess it certainly started with your phone call when you're driving down the road when Joan Trice called you and asked if Appraiser eLearning would be interested in acquiring her two businesses. And what a wonderful invitation that was. We've been sponsors of the Val Expo since 2019 and been able to deliver the USPAP training as a pre-conference training. And Joan just expressed her appreciation for what we were doing and how it's really you two guys that are out there on the front line for Appraiser eLearning. And we got the opportunity to study what her business is about and bring on her 4 employees that make up Val Expo and that run the Appraisal Buzz. And it's a great fit. Our team is I think, a fabulous team, and their team is one too. So it brings a lot of great energy to what the Appraiser eLearning mission of providing really great education to the appraisal community.
Yeah, we're super excited about it. Hal, Jim just alluded that we inherited some helpers, right? We've got some new team members, which is wonderful because it helps carry the load a little bit. And they're just not regular folks; they're fantastic folks. So share with my audience a little bit about the details of who the team members are and what it is they do.
Well, if any of your listeners have ever been to Valuation Expo, surely they're going to know the name Jim Morrison and Karen Connolly. They're kind of the front-facing part of Val Expo, and we're incredibly excited to have them come on board to basically we know conferences. We've partnered with the NAA for the past several years on the ACTS conference and the Appraisal Summit, and we are so excited to continue doing that. But this new conference is part of the package that we inherited, and it's incredibly exciting to have Jim and Karen come on with their wealth of knowledge about that conference and about Appraisal Buzz and the Buzzcast podcast, and let us work with them and learn from them how to improve the offerings we have there at Val Expo and through the Appraisal Buzz and the Appraisal Buzzcast.
Yeah. So, Jim, Hal gave us a sneak peek into, this isn't our first rodeo when it comes to conferences, right? He mentioned the Axe. He mentioned the Summit. There might be some appraisers out there that aren't familiar with those conferences, let alone Val Expo. So, if you don't mind, why don't you walk our listeners through what is our involvement with Axe and the Summit? What are they? Where do they occur? And now, what does Val Expo look like moving forward?
So the AXE conference is the conference that we started working with the NAA, I guess about 5 years ago, and we uh, picked the springtime as the opportunity to create what we would consider a national conference and move it across the country, and take it to markets that would invite appraisers that don't normally travel to Las Vegas. Because Las Vegas is where the Appraisal Summit and Val Expo have always been hosting their annual conferences. And Axe, the whole idea behind Axe was being able to take it to different markets. We started off in Nashville at our hometown. We went to Salt Lake City. We went to Biloxi, Mississippi. Oops, I got my city wrong. Gulfport, Mississippi. Charleston, South Carolina, and this spring, the first week of April, we're going to be meeting in Sacramento. So we're looking forward to hosting the Axe in Sacramento. We always partner with a state association, so we'll be partnering with the California State Association. Um, the Appraisal Summit, the NAA invited us to be a part of the Appraisal Summit and run the education for that this last year. So we were able to continue to march on with the Appraisal Summit and do what's necessary to deliver really great education for that. And now the Val Expo, our opportunity here, there's not going to be a lot of change. It's a great conference that's already in place. It's been considered absolutely the leading conference in terms of size. It has a tremendous sponsorship level that comes from the Collateral Risk Network. And so we're very excited about the opportunity to continue to host the Collateral Risk Network annual meeting at Val Expo. So I really am excited about what these three conferences do for the appraisal community and what our team can do.
Yeah, it's everything about this is exciting. It's a little terrifying too, but it's super exciting, and I think we all share that excitement and the energy that comes along with it. How Jim has painted a picture that we're not going to see tremendous changes at Val Expo this year. Tell us a little bit about what Appraiser eLearning is doing. Give us a sneak peek of our team that now is just grown by 4, and what's happening over at Appraiser eLearning.
Well, at Appraiser eLearning, we are continuing to build out courses for real estate appraisers. We've got a lot of offerings online for the live virtual classroom. We are continuing to work on our asynchronous catalog, and asynchronous is basically learn at your own pace online. We're continuing to work on that, but we're offering a lot of courses in the live virtual setting, which seems to get a lot of play. A lot of appraisers like that interaction with an instructor in a Zoom class platform. If you can't be there in person in a hotel room or in a conference room, the Zoom classroom really is a fun way to get education. But we're continuing to do those things. And then, in addition to Jim and Karen, we have Iramar and Navy coming on board. And those two amazing young ladies are the ones that run Appraisal Buzz and the Buzzcast. Iramar has been doing editing for that and wrangling writers for that for the past several years. And Navy is new to the team, running social media for Appraiser Buzz and the Appraisal Buzzcast. So they're just the 4 of those guys coming onto our team. We've got Ben Maxwell running compliance, kind of head over the appraisal building, the appraisal education building part. We got Diana Terrell working with Ben hand in hand. Kim Green, our creative director, is the one that kind of puts all of our stuff together in a pretty format and makes it easy to consume. We've got Doug Hayes, who runs all of our back of the house stuff for us. This team is a close-knit team, and I want to be real clear about this. We're a team. There were some talks early on about, we function like a family. We don't function so much like a family. Jim's got his family that is substantial in size. I've got my family. You've got your family. But when we come together, we function like a team. We've got the absolute best players right in the positions where we want them. And Jim and Karen and Navy and Aramar, they have places on the team, on the field, and we're ready to get out there and start playing.
Listen, it could be argued that we get along a lot better than a lot of families out there, to be honest, right? So, Jim, you mentioned the 3 conferences, right? Kind of let my listeners know when those are coming up and where they're located this year. You mentioned Axis in Sacramento, so we've already talked about that. Next year for 2024, it'll be in Colorado Springs. That's already been designated. So to Jim's point, moving that around. But talk about dates, and is the Appraiser eLearning team going to be at all of these conferences where somebody can come up and say hello?
Absolutely. We're all going to be there. We're going to be in Sacramento the first week of April for the AX conference. Val Expo is the first week of August. And on February the 17th, I believe, that week is our launch date for registration for that conference. And then the Appraisal Summit is at the end of September in Las Vegas, and that will be at Planet Hollywood. So those are the calendar. You can certainly check your calendars and figure out which conference you can attend. But the entire Appraiser eLearning team will be there, so you'll get to meet us. I would invite you. I'm not an appraiser, so for all your listeners out there and anybody that's watching on this podcast video, I'm not your guy to talk the shop on the appraisal business, but I am the guy that will help talk about how we can help you earn some money. And that is, I certainly want to mention all the great instructors that Appraiser eLearning has built over the years. And I would say they've helped build Appraiser eLearning. We have great instructors out there, and we like to see our instructors at our conferences. Certainly, all of you will get to meet some of those instructors at different conferences. We're very, very excited to share this news, not just with all of the listeners out there, but all of our instructors.
And I want to say something real quick. Here's the thing. When you see Bryan on the Appraisal Update podcast, or see him on the webinars that he does, or you see me on the weekly briefing, you get to know us a little bit. We're pretty personable folks. You get to know us, but we don't get to know you as much as we would like. So when you see us at the conference, please, I beg you, come up, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, what kind of work you do. That's the kind of stuff we really like to do. So come up and find us. And at the end of the day, Jim's not an appraiser, but Bryan is, and I am. We are an appraiser-owned company. We get it. And the other thing is, when you come take education with Appraiser eLearning, when you come to one of the conferences that we're involved in, you can rest assured you're going to be treated like an adult human being, and you're going to be treated like a professional, because we think that is incredibly important. Look, I get it. Change is hard to get your head around sometimes, but this is a good change, I think.
So you're talking about change, and I want to bring that up real quick, because appraisers, we as human beings resist change. We're scared of change. We're in our comfort zone. We like our daily routine. We don't like something to knock us out of our lane, right? And right now, in particular, Hal and Jim, business has slowed down. I mean, appraisers, there's a lot of appraisers out there that are scared to death. It's impacted all of our business. There's no question with the turn in the interest rates. And this has been a major change as to what we've been accustomed to over the last several years. So I know I've got some listeners out there that are saying, gosh, it's slow. Why should I come? Why should I take money and spend money to come to a conference when things are so slow right now? I'm scratching my head, wondering where the next order's coming to receive a paycheck. Why should I attend one, two, or all three conferences? What's your answer to that, appraiser?
My answer is, when things are slow, that's the time to get out there and network. That's the time to learn new things. That's the time to meet new people, find new clients, do those things. Look, the appraisal industry, when I got into it, I told my dad, Tom Humphreys, dad was an appraiser, and I grew up holding the dumb end of the tape for my dad when I was like 12 or 13 years old. I told him when I was in college, I said, Dad, I think I'm going to be a real estate appraiser like you. And he said, oh, no, you don't want to do that. In 5 years, there won't be appraisers anymore. That was 1986. When I went to work for my first boss in Nashville, I apprenticed with a member of the Appraisal Institute named Mike Ishii. And I begged him to bring me on as apprentice. And he said, you don't want to do this, son. This industry is not going to be here in 5 years. There won't be appraisers. Well, here we are 30-something years later. We're still here. The sky is not falling. Look, the last couple of years of business were not normal. Right. I know everybody was running around crazy trying to keep up with the schedules, trying to do all the stuff, trying to return all the emails to the AMCs and all that stuff, but that was not normal. Things are slowed down a little bit, that's true, but it's a great time to learn new tricks, learn new skills, and expand your practice. And part of that is coming to the ACTS conference in Sacramento, coming to Val Expo in Las Vegas, coming to the Appraisal Summit in Las Vegas, and meeting other appraisers from around the country that can help you figure out how to do a better job.
Yeah, so I am a working appraiser. That's part of what I do for my paycheck, right? And when I went to the summit this last year, first of all, let me just say, I've never been to a conference that after leaving, I hadn't learned something, right? I took something home and was able to apply it or utilize it. But I took one of my administrative assistants with me. You guys met her, Kayla, in Las Vegas. And the reason I took Kayla was for her to go around and network with every vendor there. I tried to get around and say hello, but I'm pulled in different directions. So it was important for me to have one of my team members there meeting and networking and introducing herself and securing new clients and really kind of massaging and giving that, name to face recognition with the existing clients. So it was a very positive thing for us. And if nothing else, you might consider coming to a conference because there's going to be a lot of potential new clients or some of your existing clients that you can maybe expand on. So we certainly recommend that. Jim, if somebody wants to reach out to one of the team members over at Appraiser eLearning, maybe they want to talk about writing a course for us. Maybe they want to do a little teaching. Maybe they have some questions in that regard. Who do they need to reach out to? What's a good email address or phone number to reach out to touch somebody?
Bryan at Appraiser eLearning.
No. That's fine. Everybody knows I never return my calls anyway.
Yeah, reach out to info@appraiserelearning.com and share with us what you've got to offer for your any questions that we can answer. You can send them to info@appraiserelearning.com, and your email will get sorted and sent to the right person. If you want to consider being one of our instructors and you've got a class that you want to teach, we'll get that to the right person. If you want to come to a conference, if you want to be a sponsor of one of our conferences, let me take this moment to say we're very much looking forward to meeting all the different sponsors that are out there for Val Expo. I know that there's lots of folks at Val Expo that are sponsors that don't know us, and so I want you to come and introduce yourself. If I don't know who you are, don't hesitate to come up and say hello at Val Expo to me and share with me what you're doing and I'm very excited to get to meet all the different participants there. So, Hal?
Yeah, I think, here's the thing. We're a small company. I know we just grew in the past week, but we're a small company. And when you send an email to info@appraisal or at appraiser eLearning.com, it's not like a lot of info emails out there. It actually goes to a human being who then sorts it and sends it to the right person. We're here to communicate with you. And at the end of the day, I mean, that's the thing that really excited us about this opportunity. Appraisal Buzz, the Buzzcast podcast. That gives us the chance to communicate with more appraisers across the country. That's where we're coming from. And again, I get it. Change is hard. Change seems weird, but this change is going to be a good change.
You know, that's one thing I've been very impressed by our team, guys, and just a shout out to Ben and Doug and Diane and the whole team, Kim, is the level of customer service that we have. You know, Ben sent me, I think it was over the weekend, one of our students that had a question in one of the online courses they were taking. And I went ahead and called because the email had said, hey, I'm working on this over the weekend. I'm trying to get this knocked out over the weekend. You know, his week was planned so I called him over the weekend and we chatted about the curriculum that he was struggling with or questions he had. And he thanked me. He said, I really appreciate you calling me back, you know, and it was like he was surprised that he got a call. So I've been impressed and kudos to the team. So in short order, we weren't in the conference space at all. And we got involved with NAA as their partner to host the ACTS conference. And then you blink your eyes, and just this past year was the first year. I mean, we've been a sponsor, to Jim's point, but then we became a partner with the NAA to do the Appraisal Summit in Las Vegas. And now, guys, we own our own conference, Val Expo. What in the world's next for Appraiser eLearning?
You know, Brian, I do not know. We have this ability to kind of pivot. You know, when Jim and I started the parent company of Storyboard to do education, we bought an education business to begin this journey that we were on, and I had this lump in my throat. I was absolutely terrified. But I also had this feeling of excitement. I was thrilled. We got to do a new thing and take this education business that was good and make it better. I've got the exact same conflicting feelings today. I've got this lump in my throat. I'm absolutely terrified, but I'm also thrilled because we've got a great team, and I think it's a really good opportunity. Obviously for us, but I think it's going to be good for the industry. The way we communicate with fellow boots on the ground appraisers, since we are an appraiser-owned business, I think that makes us special. That's just, I know I'm biased, but that's where I come from.
Guys, thanks so much for being here today. Jim McLeod, Hal Humphreys. I know you're both busy guys, and to take the time out to talk about this exciting venture and let the listeners know. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Appraisal Update podcast. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're shaking the trees and getting some clients. Come to a conference and meet them in person. There is nothing like meeting someone face to face. You know, we've gotten used with emails and text messages and all that good jazz, but the best way to make relationships is in person, face to face. Come join us at one of the upcoming conferences. We would love to meet you and chat with you. Until next time, for Hal Humphreys and Jim McLeod, I'm your host, Bryan Reynolds. Happy appraising.
The Appraisal Update podcast is brought to you by Appraiser eLearning.